The reason why we're here is because we have a partnership with Emerging Leaders. This program is important to us because part of our sustainability pillar is economic inclusion. And in economic inclusion, we believe in empowering youth, differently abled people, and also women. And reason being, we are a responsible corporate citizen, a member of the society, and we have a lot of youth, women, and differently abled people who live amongst us in areas that are quite underserved. The importance of this partnership with Emerging Leaders is because at CCBA Kenya, we found a partner who we've been able to together jointly create a program where the participants of this program are able to at least have a mindset shift. Then afterwards, we are able to work with them, empower them in their commercial ventures. Some of them, for example, it will be interesting for you to know that they are going to be our commercial partners in the sense that they are starting from just the small roadside kiosk all the way up to where their dreams reach. So it's important to see that because of this program, the mindset shift is happening and the commercial acumen of the participants continues to grow day by day.
A significant number of things have changed in the context of people's everyday lives, the way that they see themselves, the way that they carry themselves. But one of the biggest shifts that we've seen is the move from dependency to interdependency. So we at the beginning of the program, there was like a 56% dependency rate of those that were relying on their family, on their friends, on their neighbors to support them. And many of those were single stay-at-home mums, so they didn't kind of see a future for themselves. Just saw this is my reality, this is where I'm going to be. At the end of the program, as they come through, we've seen around that drop now from 56% to 10%. Women are beginning to see themselves as entrepreneurs, as businesswomen, beginning to realize that they can begin to take ownership and responsibility for the story that they want to write for their family, for their kids. They're beginning to change the cycle of hopelessness within their communities and within their families, becoming role models for other mums in their neighborhoods who are now aspiring to be like them, becoming role models for their kids, which actually sets up a platform for the future generation as well. And they're just beginning to carry themselves differently. They're dressing differently, they're talking differently, and they have a different outlook on life. And they're beginning to find their voice. So now they're beginning to realize I don't need to depend on somebody else. Actually, I can be the author of my own story. I can choose to write a different one that is hopeful and full of hope for myself and for my kids into the future. The shift for their families has been significant. It's once you start to have an income and once you begin to change your mindset around how you see yourself and how you begin to perceive the future, everything begins to change. So what seemed impossible now becomes possible. You start to dream, you start to believe. I think we have a shift in employability from like a 1.4 day increase in the amount of time that they're working every single week. Now they're getting up, they're getting motivated, they're getting out. And for many of the single mums, I think we've seen a shift in their income from around 5,000 Kenyan shillings to about 9. So it's not a significant shift that's going to, change necessarily the trajectory of their life immediately. But the reality for many of them is they're single mums. So they have an awful lot of other responsibilities. They have their kids to look after, kids to get ready for school, kids to take to school, kids to come home from school. So they've found a way now that they've been able to create an additional income for themselves, for their family, which fits in with the other responsibilities that they have. So they're still present for their kids. They're setting a different future for their kids in what their kids are now seeing in their mums. And they're becoming and realizing that actually they don't have to rely on a man. They can stand on their own 2 feet and they can build a better future for themselves. So what I love about our partnership and our collaboration with CCBA is, one, the principle that we can do more together than we can on our own. So that our collaboration, the combined funding, the connections out into the networks and the communities have allowed us to be able to reach more people. The great thing about an event like today is this is just a celebration of the next step that they've taken. It's not the end of the journey. And we're seeing for many of them, actually, as we've tracked over the last 2 or 3 years for programs that we've been running in partnership and collaboration with CCBA and others, is that there is a sustained development and growth. So for many of them, they seem to take an initial increase over the first 6 months, begins to plateau, which could look negative, but then you realize that everybody else around them, because of the context of the economic climate at the moment, is actually, for many of them, their income is going down. So the fact that their income is sustaining and remaining the same or slightly increasing is actually a significant step. And more importantly, as we're having conversations with them 2 or 3 years down the road, what they're saying is, yeah, it's tough. We're out there, we're trying to make stuff work. Some things are, some things aren't, but we're determined to find a way through. And it's that mental resilience, that emotional resilience that is creating a great foundation for them for the future.
Wakati nilimaliza training, hiyo siku ya kumaliza training, nilienda nikafungua duka. So hiyo duka imenisaidia sana. Ile hand to mouth imeisha. Hata naweza save mimi mwenyewe. Yes. Na through hizo savings, nilifanya savings na nikajua kusave, nikajua ukisave unaweza fanyia kitu important. So nilifanya kitu important hapo mbele. Mahali nimetoka, yezi define penye naenda. Cause kwa hii program nililearn vitu mingi. Hata mimi mwenyewe nililearn neza employ familia yangu. So through ile program yenye nilisoma about savings, nilichukulia hiyo savings na nikafanyia kitu possible, nikachukulia kijana wangu motorbike. So hiyo motorbike anajisaidia hata yeye na pia mimi napata kipato. Neza encourage young people, women, even wale wenye wako na disability. Hii kitu isiwafungie. Haina age limit. So kusoma, the sky is the limit. Anaweza kuja anytime na kihitaji pia anaweza niambia, anaweza mpeleka penye hizo classes ziko.
So before this program, I used to be that person who didn't have a stable income because I used to depend on just small businesses at the ground, selling mandazis, working for campaign people during campaigns, going to mjengos to look for water and supply them. So I just had these small short-term employments which were not that consistent. That's why I was in and out of employment. As a result of the program, I learned that personally I have an amazing potential and I am a leader. And by understanding that I am a leader, I have to change the way I think. And by changing the way I think, I was able to look for new ways, and I was able to understand how can changing my mindset enable me to go out to spaces which would help me to get an employment or even put myself out there for exposure so that I can get a stable income. So as a result of the program, I have learned that all that I need for me to succeed is deep inside of me because I have an amazing potential. As a leader, I learned that changing my mindset will enable me to change the way I think, and changing the way I think will enable me to network with people who will help me grow. And as a result of this, I was able to go out, set aside and look for ways that I will be able to earn my income more. And it led me to me having a stable income, which helped me to boost my family and my people that I love.